The cleanup for a massive oil spill off the coast of Orange County is in full swing. An environmental expert weighs in on the impact.
Protests are happening outside the Supreme Court in support of female reproductive rights. We spoke with students who took part in LA marches.
Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp were down for hours today. Find out about how the outage is affecting consumer confidence in those platforms.
Annenberg TV News is next.
An oil leak off the coast of Orange County has dumped more than 126,000 gallons into the Pacific Ocean. Good evening, I'm Chody.
And I'm Tseng. The spill is causing severe ecological damage to the wildlife, and people are wondering who caused it.
Amplify Energy says it believes the source of the leak was one of its crude oil pipelines, about 4.5 miles off the coast. The leak was discovered Saturday morning. The company says it shut off flow into the pipeline Saturday night, but officials say the leak continued overnight on Sunday. The Coast Guard is looking into the possibility that the pipe was damaged by a ship's anchor.
The entire area is saturated with oil. Our wetlands and wildlife centers are taking care of animals and cleaning the poison off the animals now, but we won't know the damage for another couple of weeks. They're still assessing everything.
So far, crude oil has washed up on the coasts of Newport Beach, Huntington Beach, and Laguna Beach. It's expected to seep into Crystal Cove State Park by 10 tonight. 25 miles of fisheries, starting as far south as Dana Point, have been closed. The massive oil spill is already affecting ocean wildlife. 4 oil-slicked pelicans have been collected so far by authorities. 3 are being treated, but 1 unfortunately had to be euthanized. Birds are especially vulnerable because the oil coats their wings and prevents them from flying. Fish and other ocean wildlife that are exposed to oil can suffer from health defects and become poisonous for humans to eat. We spoke to an expert to find out how oil spills make their way through the food chain.
A lot of the oil, will also probably just end up deep in the ecosystem. And so there you can see the oil traveling up the food chain of, getting taken in by some of the smallest animals that then get eaten by larger animals and accumulate in their system and contaminate them. We should have.
Authorities are urging residents to not try to collect oiled birds on their own, but to report them to an agency hotline at 877-823-6926. The agency is not currently seeking volunteers, but those looking to get involved can monitor updates at calspillwatch.com.
News of the oil spill has not stopped visitors from going to the beaches in Santa Monica. But reporter Nathan Hyun talked with people concerned what might happen if the oil reaches its shores.
The oil spill has not reached Santa Monica, but people are still worried. Carlos Rodriguez works at a bike rental shop on the pier.
I don't think it's going to be too good on business because obviously people are not going to want to come to the beach if the water's contaminated with oil or anything.
Fishing is a popular activity on Santa Monica Pier, but some fishermen are worried of what the oil spill could do.
I love fishing. Fishing is my hobby, so I want to keep on coming back here. So if this happens over here and it drifts over here, then I'm gonna go somewhere else.
I wouldn't eat anything that came out of here when you got oil and coming in the water.
Beaches in Orange County like Laguna and Huntington have already closed down. And as you can see behind me here in Santa Monica, that's not the case. People are still surfing, people are still hanging out in the sand. But I talked to an expert who said that people should still be careful when going into the water.
For this oil spill, we're recommending anyone in the vicinity of the spill to stay not only out of the water, but away from the beach as well. These spills contain toxic chemicals. While oil spills in California aren't super common, they're also devastating when they do happen.
One Santa Monica visitor agrees that oil companies have to be held accountable.
For the amount that that leaked out, I mean, it's bad. It's bad. They got to do something about it. They have to have better rules and regulations as far as when something happens like that and fix it right away, and hopefully some hefty fines go out to that company.
Santa Monica may be spared the worst of the oil spill, as the oil is expected to flow south of Orange County. For Annenberg Media, I'm Nathan Hyun.
Thanks, Nathan. Now we'll continue to follow the oil spill and cleanup efforts and bring you the latest developments. Thrift's temporary glitch on Saturday evening left students to pay for their rides around campus. Students shared their thoughts on Saturday's Thrift freeze.
Oh, I'd be upset, but I feel like I would have the expectation that the university would reimburse me, that they would take care of these things.
I'd be pretty upset. I mean, we're all college students here, so we don't have tons of money, staying around. But yeah, no, I think they shouldn't have been charged, and yeah, I'd be upset too.
The USC Transportation's Senior Associate Director says that Saturday's issue was an error Lyft is currently working to reimburse students who had to pay for rides on Saturday night. USC Transportation says this Saturday, Thrift will begin at 10 p.m. because of the late football kickoff.
Thefts and scams around campus are on the rise. According to DPS, more incidents have been reported north of Jefferson between Hoover and Figueroa. The DPS advisory includes these tips. Pick up packages when they arrive or have them delivered to the Amazon locker in the village. Lock cars indoors. Take bikes and scooters inside if possible. And when you are not home, keep the lights and TV on. Did you notice that Facebook wasn't working today? Well, you're not the only one. It's back online now, but a service outage left billions of users worldwide without access to several platforms, including Instagram and WhatsApp. The social media giant reported that the outage is one of the longest ever in its 17-year history. Now, it's not uncommon for apps and websites to experience problems or go offline for a bit, but an hours-long outage is rare. We talked to a social media expert about Facebook's reputation.
Between the weeks now of accusations against Facebook and then today having this massive outage of all the Facebook products, you have to wonder what happens with the confidence and trust in Facebook.
The outage comes on the heels of a 60 Minutes interview with a Facebook whistleblower. The former product manager accused the company of knowing that its platforms are used to spread hate, violence, and misinformation.
For the first time since the pandemic began, the Supreme Court opened its doors for an in-person session this morning. One case on the docket could determine the future of abortion rights in the U.S. Protesters gathered outside Protesters gathered outside of the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. advocated for Roe V. Wade to stay intact. People all over the country are speaking out against restrictive abortion laws. Here's what one LA marcher has to say.
Well, I guess I've been a feminist for as long as I've known the meaning of the word. And I also as long as I've known what abortion is, I've been, pro-choice. I am going to stay hopeful and say that I think that it'll be okay.
Thousands of marchers flooded the streets of downtown LA on Saturday to protest recent attacks on reproductive rights. The LA March was one of more than 600 women's marches that took place across the country. On December 1st, the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments about a Mississippi law that outlaws all abortions after 15 weeks.
The class of 2025 is the most impressive yet. You'll see why ahead.
We're off to the races. Hear from one of the candidates running for the mayor of LA.
And the organization that represents union members in the entertainment industry is ready to strike against the Hollywood studios.
Hey, Julia, are you ready to play band with us? I'm going to play my clarinet.
And Elmo's going to play his drum. Drum loud.
Oh, well, you know what to do, Julia.
Julia knows.
Mm-hmm. With Julia's autism, loud sounds can be too much.
But she still has to make music. Play band.
Early screening for autism can make a lifetime of difference. Find out more at screenforautism.org.
Recently, the western U.S. has averaged more than 1,900 earthquakes and 3,800 significant wildfires each year. So chances are there will be more of both near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
60,000 film and television workers authorized a strike today against Hollywood studios and the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers. They're alleging extreme and inhumane working conditions.
It's so messed up when you're in a Zoom room and you have people talking about how they're renovating their vacation house, and you're quietly thinking to yourself, if I cut back to eating one meal a day, can I afford to pay my electricity bill this month?
Motivated by grievances suffered by studio crew members, 13 West Coast local unions of IATSE unanimously voted to call a strike against the major Hollywood studios. They claim studio workers are given unlivable wages, forced to work long hours, and are even denied bathroom breaks. IATSE released a statement saying this vote is about the quality of life as well as the health and safety of those who work in the film and television industry. Our people have basic human needs. For those at the bottom of the pay scale, they deserve nothing less than a living wage. One USC professor gave his opinion on the union stance.
Assuming that IATSE wins significant concessions, and it looks pretty much like they will. It looks like the negotiations are going to be a little bit more open. Will the threat around work time have teeth, or will they trade that for significant increases in compensation?
Today, the organization representing producers said, quote, a deal can be made at the bargaining table, but it will require both parties working together in good faith with a willingness to compromise and to explore new solutions to resolve the open issues. Annenberg Media talked one-on-one with a candidate for LA mayor. Political reporter Marco Ramirez tells us about the interview with Kevin De Leon.
The race for mayor is becoming more and more competitive. The list of candidates is now up to 13. Annenberg Media's Luke Scorzelli asked the city council member what sets him apart from the rest.
I have a history of bold action and leadership, speaking truth to power, and taking on the big fights. We won. We took on the National Rifle Association, the NRA, and to keep our streets safer. And we won with my ammunition bill.
Of the 13 candidates for mayor, only 4 have held office: Kevin De Leon, Karen Bass, Joe Buscaino, and Mike Feuer. The election will take place on November 8th, 2022, and if Kevin De Leon wins, he would be the first Latino Asian mayor of Los Angeles.
Now, let's look at a live picture of the forecast for the week and maybe even find out what national day it is.
Thank you, Brett. I'm so excited you want to know. Thank you for asking. It is actually National Consignment Day and National Taco Day. Exciting stuff. So go consign things and eat tacos. We have really good weather for it. Speaking of which, it is currently 75 degrees in our dear LA area with a 46% humidity. Looking at our 5-day forecast, Tuesday a high of 74 and a low of 57. Wednesday we're sprinkling some clouds in there with a high of 69 and a low of 55. Thursday, so many clouds, 4 to be exact. I'm just kidding, there's gonna be more, but it's a high of 66 and a low of 57. Scooting on over to Friday, a high of 67, a low of 54, and Saturday, a high of 73 and a low of 52. Perfect for Parents Weekend. Happy Parents Weekend. Mine aren't coming, in case you were wondering, but I'm open, I'm up for grabs. If anybody wants me, I'm looking for a second pair of arbitrary adults to send me birthday money. Send in your resumes. Speaking of sending things, I'm going to send you guys over to sports. Thanks.
USC Heisman winner Carson Palmer spoke to the media today ahead of a big weekend. Consistency, consistency, consistency. How can USC football carry its momentum from Boulder to week 6? and a blowout victory for Trojan soccer, plus a sprinkle of history. All that and more coming up on Sports.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah.
Hey Smokey, catch!
Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Could USC exist without Heisman Trophy legacies? I don't think so. 2002 Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Carson Palmer is set to return to the Coliseum this Saturday to be honored with an on-field salute. Palmer was named on the 2021 Football Hall of Fame class in January, and the Pac-12's career leader in passing yards spoke today about what he anticipates for Saturday's return to the Coliseum.
I'm excited to be at the game. I love going to the games. I love watching them on TV, obviously. But I'm honestly most excited to run out of the tunnel. It's more about that family atmosphere, the Trojan family. And you don't realize how powerful the Trojan family is and how important it is to be a part of that until you're gone.
Palmer is set to lead the Trojans out of the tunnel, kicking off Saturday's matchup against the Utes. Head coach Dante Williams said yesterday he's ready to catch some passes on the sideline if Palmer wants to get his arm loose.
USC football is coming off a big win in preparation for Utah this Saturday. While proud of his team's success, head coach Dante Williams recognizes the adjustment that needs to be made for continued Pac-12 wins this season.
Well, yesterday's game was a hard win. I think offense, defense, and special teams did their part. Still was a lot of mistakes I feel in the ball game, whether it was the penalties or almost blocked punt or, the fumble, just different little things that, we have to make sure we correct to be the team that we all know we can be.
One of the most encouraging signs from Colorado was USC's improved passing attack. Much of that is credited to junior receiver Drake London, who made ridiculous one-on-one touchdown grab as part of his 130-yard performance. London leads the NCAA in receiving yards and has emerged as possibly the nation's best receiver. But he said he's not too focused on the hype.
No, if God willing, I'm gonna let that fall into place, But with that said, I'm just trying to get W's out here and get some wins. So I'm not really getting into the hype or anything about that. So I'm just trying to.
Trojans fans will hope London can build off this monstrous start to the season this weekend in a critical Pac-12 South matchup against the Utes. After another blowout win against Pacific, men's water polo is now ranked #1 in the country. They can't breathe too easy though. Cal is itching for the top spot. The Trojans have a strong undefeated record this season with 11 wins. Their consistency is due to an aggressive offense and dependable defenders in goal, making the Trojans a well-oiled machine that can't seem to be stopped. Head coach Marco Pintark talked about what's going on right for the team following Sunday's win.
Look, as a coach, we always expect them on more. But overall, look, the team performed very well, considering that we did, regroup after the tournament. We did some new stuff, new rotations, and overall I'm pleased with the performance.
This week, all eyes are on top 2 teams in the country as they will be duking it out for top spot in Los Angeles.
History was made over the weekend as USC women's soccer forward Penelope Hawking reached her career scoring record against Arizona. The number 21 team continues their winning streak, executing their 8th win. Yesterday's 4-1 victory over the Wildcats was a prime example of dominating plays and Trojan grit. Hawking scored her 48th collegiate goal at the 19th minute, tying the record for most career goals by a USC Trojan.
She's always dangerous. She's always a person that puts herself in great positions. And today, you know, the goal that she scored, we needed. It was a goal that we were pushing for, and she got across the defender and tapped it in on a great cross.
Hawking shares her record with Isabel Harvey, who played for USC from 1996 to 2000. Hawking's record-tying goal came against her twin sister, Ileana Hawking, who played as an opposing Wildcat. Hawking's 8 shots and goal record isn't the only buzz. Redshirt senior forward Jada Talley scored the game winner against her former soccer program. With a record as impressive as theirs, anticipation is high. The Trojan women's return home this week to host Colorado on Thursday and Utah on Sunday.
Coming up, the School of Dramatic Arts is back in production. Learn more about their fall shows after the break.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique.
And your mother.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
When we adopt a shelter.
From the University of Southern California, I'm Dan Toomey, and this is the Night Class Podcast.
From the New York Times, I'm Michael Bavaro. This is The Daily.
From the University of Southern California, I'm Dan Toomey. This is Night Class. Bum, bum, bum.
USC's freshman class is making history. It's the most diverse class ever, with an increase of Black, Latino, and first-generation students. The class also has ties for the highest GPA record.
It's in fact something that we've continued to work towards. And I think that we saw this last year. It just seems that we passed a lot of these very interesting milestones, you know, especially given all of the challenges that we know were out there this past year with the pandemic. And so we were, you know, doubly excited that so many good outcomes were in the class.
Here are the numbers for the class of 2025. 23% are the first in their families to go to college. 1 out of 5 students are Latino, and there was an increase of Black students from 6% to 9%.
Usually, most schools don't really brag about their diversity or their change in diversity, but it's awesome how USC is expanding their diversity and including more students, more races and everything.
I'm Hispanic. I'm Paraguayan American. With the Latinx community, I have a bunch of friends, and there are so many things we can relate on, and it makes me feel like I'm more at home.
The university system as a whole, not only just USC, is making bigger moves in order to try to be inclusive to the communities that normally may have been oppressed or not had the greatest access to higher education.
The USC Dean of Admissions says there's still a lot of work to be done, but this year's class is maintaining great strides towards diversity.
Film screenings and theater productions are back on campus. Last weekend, student-led movies and performances resumed in person for the first time since the pandemic. Theater students are excited, but they're also grappling with the new normal under health restrictions. They're now required to act with masks on, and due to COVID uncertainty, students have switched from planning months ahead to planning one day at a time.
It was bizarre, definitely the first few weeks of rehearsal, navigating the new territory of rehearsing with masks on, not seeing anyone's bottom half of their face when they act. And I'm very grateful because it meant that we could have a show. We were safe, the crew was safe, the audience was safe, so it really all paid off.
There are nearly 20 shows and screenings coming up. The Normal Heart and Body of Faith will take the stage from this Thursday to Sunday. Spring Awakening will debut at the end of this month, and more performances are scheduled for November. Last night, SCA students screened their junior thesis films at the Norris Cinema Theater for the first time this year. Students celebrated the return of in-person screenings, remarking on the significance of audience interactions.
Watching a film is about feeling the audience reaction, so it was great to be able to hear people laugh or cringe or any of that kind of stuff. And so just the energy that's in the theaters is really unparalleled.
Stay tuned for upcoming screenings at the Ray Stark Family Theater. Check out Peace by Chocolate this Wednesday and Betrayal at Attica on Thursday. And on Thursday, October 14th, enjoy Possessor Uncut. You know, Michael, I think it's so awesome that movies are back. That's something that I definitely really missed during COVID when the theaters were closed, so I'm definitely excited for that.
I know. After COVID, the first thing I went to watch was Black Widow, and then immediately again, the theaters closed, so I had to wait until recently to go watch Shang-Chi, which was an awesome movie. By the way, Brett, did you see that movie?
Okay, I didn't, and I think I need to add it to my list. You know, I'm definitely someone who does a lot of streaming, and I don't always get to the theater. And especially since COVID ended, I haven't been back yet, but I'll have to add that to the list. You know, recently I did watch Black Widow because that came out both in the theaters and on streaming platforms, so I watched that with my sister. That was pretty cool.
Well, I'm unlucky because I'm a poor college person. I do not have Disney Plus, Netflix, or anything. Everything I have is from HBO provided by USC, but otherwise I've always been glad to see student films. SCA with a lot of great student films, and yeah, I'm excited to see things for this weekend.
Yeah.
So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching Annenberg TV News. From everyone here at Annenberg Media, I'm Michael Tseng.
And I'm Brett Chody. For more coverage, watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Annenberg Media. Good night.